Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a report from the Middle East that poses a really startling question. It's about the lives of Christians right in the cradle of their faith. And you know what? The answers it uncovers might just challenge everything you thought you knew.
And the report doesn't beat around the bush. It asks this question point blank. Think about it. A ton of the funding in this region comes from U.S. taxpayers, right? And a big chunk of that comes from American Christian churches. So what's the real impact of all that money and support? Well, if you ask the people who actually live there, the answer they give is, honestly, it's pretty unsettling.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this, you got to look at the numbers, and they tell a pretty stark story. The report points to this massive demographic shift. I mean, back in 1948, the Christian population in what's now Israel was slashed by half, 50%. And that trend? It hasn't stopped. The numbers have just kept dwindling. So, to get a real, on-the-ground perspective, the report talks to the Anglican Archbishop of Jerusalem. And his story, wow. He was born in Nazareth, Jesus' hometown, and get this, his dad was a carpenter. I mean, literally, a carpenter. So you can imagine his perspective on all of this is about as rooted as it gets.
And let me tell you, he does not pull any punches. He says his community isn't growing, it's not thriving. He describes them more like custodians, just trying to hang on, to preserve what's left in the face of some really tough challenges. It's a story of survival, not success.
So what are these challenges he's talking about? Well, the Archbishop lays out this really disturbing pattern of harassment that he says comes from radical Jewish groups. We're talking about priests and clergy getting spat on in the street, churches being vandalized, horrible things left at their doors. And on top of that, there are official restrictions that make celebrating major holidays like Easter incredibly difficult. And the police, he says they often can't, or maybe won't, do anything about it. Apparently, there's not even a law against spitting on someone. And this is where we get to the financial twist. The real paradox at the heart of this whole report. The Archbishop points out something pretty shocking. He says that Christian churches in the U.S. are actually sending more money to support Jewish settlements in the West Bank than they are to help the Christians in, say, Nazareth, Jesus' own hometown. And some of those settlements, they're built on land that was confiscated from Christians.
Now this next part, it's just wild. When the Archbishop actually protested this, when he brought it up with other Christians, you know what they told him? They said, sometimes we need to make a sacrifice for a greater good. Can you believe that? His community's struggle is being reframed as some kind of necessary sacrifice for a bigger cause. A cause he says is literally hurting his own people. It just shows this huge disconnect.
Okay, so now the report does something really interesting. It pivots. We're just going 25 miles away, over to Jordan. Now, Jordan is an overwhelmingly Muslim country, right? But what the report finds there, well, it's a completely different world for the Christian community.
And this is where that contrast just smacks you in the face. It's night and day. On one side of the river, you have this story of decline, harassment, and struggle. And on the other side, you have a story of a Christian minority that's actually thriving, that's respected and has its rights protected. So the million-dollar question is, why? Why the massive difference?
To help answer that, the report introduces us to a pretty prominent Christian businessman in Jordan. And his take on things is the complete opposite of what we heard from the Archbishop. He just says it flat out. I've never felt discriminated against here as a Christian. He says they feel totally comfortable, totally at home. All right, so let's break it down. What really explains this huge divergence? I mean, these places are right next to each other. So the report looks into a few key reasons that the people they interviewed brought up. According to that Jordanian businessman, it really comes down to three main things. Three pillars that support the success and safety of Christians in his country. First, you've got constitutional rights. Equal rights are literally written into the law. Second, there's stability, both political and economic. And that stability is what protects the vulnerable, including minorities. And the third pillar, it's leadership. The country's leaders actively push for interfaith dialogue and harmony. And a really crucial piece to this puzzle is something called the Hashemite custodianship. It's this unique, long-standing arrangement. And what it means, basically, is that the Muslim king of Jordan is the official guardian, the protector of the holy sites in Jerusalem for both Christians and Muslims. That includes places like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's a huge deal, and this historical agreement is key to keeping these places safe for everyone. And if you want a powerful symbol of what that custodianship looks like in real life, get this. The report points out that the Muslim king of Jordan personally funded the restoration of the tomb of Jesus Christ. I mean, think about that. That single act says so much about interfaith respect, and it's just such a stark contrast to the situation we heard about right across the border.
So, after showing us these two incredibly different realities, side by side, the report brings us full circle. It comes back to where we began, with the Archbishop of Jerusalem and what he has to say as his final message.
And his final plea, it's really powerful. He's speaking directly to Christians in the West, and he says, please don't divide us with your prayers. He's asking them to pray for all the people of the Holy Land, for everyone, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. It's this incredible call for a shared humanity. And it kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about, doesn't it? What does it really mean to support the people of the Holy Land?